that at that moment when I am facing imminent danger and death, what exactly would I be feeling? What emotions would be running through my heart? What thoughts would be racing through my mind? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'ad. In the last episode, we explored how Ibrahim alayhi salam tried to appeal to the intellect of his community to make them realize and recognize the absurdity of their beliefs. But they were blinded by their ignorance, their arrogance, and stubbornness. He said, أَتَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَنْفَعُكُمْ شَيْئًا وَلَا يَضُرُّكُمْ أُفِّلْ لَكُمْ وَلِمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. That do you worship besides Allah that which doesn't benefit you in any way, shape, or form, that which cannot harm you? أُفِّلْ لَكُمْ وَلِمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Uff to you and what you worship besides Allah. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you understand? Don't you understand that these statues are inanimate objects that you shaped, sculpted, and formed them with your own hands? That they can't do anything, they can't see anything, they have no ability to harm or benefit whatsoever. Why don't you understand this? So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he made the truth absolutely clear to them. And they had no response. They were dumbfounded. They didn't know what to say. But because they were blinded by their arrogance, their ignorance, and stubbornness, instead of humbling themselves and acknowledging and accepting the truth, they turned towards tyranny and persecution. They were upset, they were angry, they were flustered, and they wanted to take revenge. They said, حَرِّقُوهُ وَانْصُرُوا آلِهَتَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ فَاعِلِينَ. They said, if you're going to do anything about this, then burn him and help your gods. And this is the nature when people are at the brink of defeat. When they have no way of responding intellectually or rationally, they resort to physical threats of violence. And they actually engage in harassment and persecution. So they said, حَرِّقُوا, that burn him, وَانْصُرُوا آلِهَتَكُمْ, and help your gods. That in and of itself is an absurd statement. A god is not a being that requires help. A god is almighty, all-powerful, the one who provides help, aid, support, and assistance. A god is omnipotent, is all-powerful. He's not in need of any help or assistance. So that statement itself highlights the absurdity of their beliefs. But because they were blinded by their rage and anger, they wanted their revenge, they decided to dig a very large pit. And they gathered firewood for approximately 1 month. And they gathered it in that pit. And then they ignited a fire and they continued to fan the flames for several days until there was this large, blazing, raging fire that was extremely intense in terms of its heat. Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, he writes that a fire like that had never been seen before in history in terms of its heat, in terms of its intensity. And the fire was so hot that the people could not even get close to it. They were unable to throw Ibrahim alayhi salam into the fire directly. So Shaitan came to them and devised a plan and told them how to use a catapult. So they actually catapulted Ibrahim alayhi salam into the fire. One of the ways of connecting to this story is using our imagination and imagining ourselves in the shoes of Ibrahim alayhi salam. That at that moment when I am facing imminent danger and death, what exactly would I be feeling? What emotions would be running through my heart? What thoughts would be racing through my mind? We would be absolutely worried. We'd be crying, we'd be, shivering, our bodies would be quaking, perhaps we'd be uncontrollable, unconsolable. But at that time, Ibrahim alayhi salam maintained his composure. And he was absolutely calm, collected, and content. And as he was facing imminent death, he kept reciting, لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك رب العالمين. That there's no ilah, there's nobody, nothing worthy of worship except for you. Subhanak, glory be to you. How awesome, amazing, and perfect you are. Rabbul Alameen, you're the Lord of the universe. Lakal hamd, all praises for you. Lakal mulk, all power and sovereignty belongs to you. La sharika lak, you have no partner. And as he's now being thrown and catapulted into the fire, he starts saying, Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is enough for me. Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best protector. This highlights Ibrahim alayhi salam's deep connection and relationship with Allah. He had absolute reliance and faith in Allah's wisdom and plan. And that's why he wasn't panicking. That's why he was not worried. Some narrations mention that as he's being hurled towards the fire, the angel Jibreel alayhi salam came to him and said, Ya Ibrahim, do you need me to do anything? I have been sent to help you. Do you need any help from me? Ibrahim alayhi salam said, from you? No. I don't need any help from you because Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me and He's the best of protectors. So Jibreel said, then ask your Lord. Ibrahim alayhi salam responded by saying, my Lord knows my situation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya naru kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. That before he was dropped into the fire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the fire that be cool and safety for Ibrahim alayhi salam. So right before he was thrown into the fire, it became cool. And it became a place of safety, security, peace, and comfort. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the might and power to do anything He wills and wants. He is the one who has given fire the ability to burn, who has given water the ability to quench thirst, who has given food the ability to satiate hunger. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can remove those qualities from these created things. So at that moment, He removed the quality of burning from the fire. And He said, Verdant, that be cool. وَسَلَامًا, and a place of safety and security for Ibrahim alayhi salam. فَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَخْسَرِينَ. They plotted and planned against Ibrahim alayhi salam, but they ended up being the worst of losers. So this is a very instructive episode from the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam, especially for us as a community of believers, that we are not alone in facing persecution, harassment from our people, especially because of our faith, especially because of our belief. That part of the human experience is that we are going to be challenged. We are going to go through difficulties, challenges, trials, and tribulations. We are going to be tested. That's part of being a human being. And we have role models to follow. أَشَدُّ النَّاسِ بَلَاءً الْأَنْبِيَاءُ ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلُ فَالْأَمْثَلُ. That the most severely tested human beings were the prophets, and those similar to them, and those similar to them. So if we're walking in the footsteps of the prophets, we are going to be tested just like them. And in them, we have an example of patience, strength, courage, forbearance, remaining calm and collected, and placing our absolute reliance in Allah. And that is another major lesson from this episode. The idea, the concept of at-tawakkul, that placing our trust and reliance in the wisdom, in the decree, in the judgment and decisions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and recognizing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only allows what's best for us to happen. Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. That Allah is sufficient for me and He is the best of protectors. Even when the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam was facing imminent danger from the Confederate army during the Battle of Ahzab, these are the exact same words he said. Inna an-nasa qad jama'u lakum. That people were saying the people have gathered to attack you. There's a Confederate army of 10,000 strong coming to attack you and the believers. فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا. That only increased them in iman. وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. And they said Allah is sufficient for us and He is the best of protectors. And we see this right in front of our eyes happening in real time, in real life with the people of Gaza. That they are being ethnically cleansed. Their homes and their hospitals, their mosques are being bombed indiscriminately. That they're being killed left and right unjustly. And when you look at the people, they respond by saying, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. That Allah is sufficient for us. He is the one who's going to help us, aid us, and assist us. And He is the best of protectors. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us that conviction. May He give us that faith. And may He give us that trust and reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina wa mawlana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.